4 parts to this test. 1, 2, 3 and 4. At the end of every pause, you will hear this sound. Part 1. Local attractions. You will hear part of a radio program in which the presenter is talking about the attractions of an area. For questions 1 to 10, fill in the missing information.
And now we come to our regular Have a Break feature. Today we're looking at the northern region of the country and what it has to offer if you visit it or if you live there and fancy a day out. Well, perhaps the best known town is Halford. While it has a host of fascinating old buildings, its main attraction is of course the castle, which is over 800 years old and widely considered to be the best preserved in the country. It is a splendid building, set in lovely grounds, and there are reduced admission charges for groups. If you want to see one of the finest cathedrals in the country, Linbury is the place to visit. Guided tours are available there, on which you can learn all about the fascinating history of the place. But if you prefer to just wander around this magnificent building on your own or attend a service, you can do so. Another place offering guided tours is Lewiston, where the castle ruins are well worth a visit. These too have a fascinating history, and you can hear all about the battles that took place there hundreds of years ago. Children and parents alike will thoroughly enjoy the Transport Museum in Rockfield. There you can see some of the oldest cars, bikes and buses in the world. Some of them look quite incredible to us today. Children get in for half price, so it's not only a good day out for all the family, but an inexpensive one too. Another place that gives good value for money for families is the zoo at Buckton. The cheap family ticket offered there gives you the chance to take the kids to see the elephants and all the rest without spending a fortune. You can also get a cheap family ticket at the boating lake in West Hill. It covers an enormous area and is in very picturesque countryside, so if you fancy a pleasant, lazy afternoon on the water, this is the place for you. If you've never been to the castle at Sloane, it's well worth a visit. Although smaller than the one at Halford, it's very impressive, and as there, groups get in cheaper. It's easy to find too. It's perched on top of a hill above the town, and you can't miss it. There are special group rates at Loxton Zoo also. It's not as big as the one at Buckton, but it has some rare breeds, and its snake house is particularly popular. If art is to your taste, the place for you is Coundon, whose gallery has a worldwide reputation. If you wish, you can take guided tours there, where art experts and historians will draw your attention to some of the more interesting and famous exhibits and give you information that will help you to appreciate what you see. Finally, the theme park at Trace is particularly good value for families. Children are half price, and there is lots for them to do there, including some of the most exciting rides to be found anywhere. If you would like our information sheet on all these places, please send a stamped addressed envelope to...
That is the end of Part 1. Part 2. Theatre information. You will hear a theatre's recorded information service. For questions 11 to 18, make a note of the information given.
This is the York Theatre Recorded Information Service, with details of our current production, the comedy The Dream. Tickets can be obtained in person from the box office, which is open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, and on Sunday from 12 noon to 4 p.m. For credit card bookings, call 071 379 4454. There is no booking fee for this service. Group bookings can be made for all performances on weekdays by phoning 071 947 9875 between 9:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Monday to Friday. There are reduced rates for groups of 10 or more. Performance times are as follows: Tuesday to Friday, 7:45. Saturday, 3 p.m. and 7:45. Sunday, 3 p.m. Please note that there is no performance on Mondays, and that the only performance on Sunday is the matinee performance at 3 p.m. ticket prices, £14, £16.50 and £18.50 in the stalls, £9, £12 and £16.50 in the circle. In the balcony, all seats are £5. In addition, boxes are available at £16.50 per seat. A certain number of standby tickets may be available 30 minutes before the performance for £8.50. These tickets are available to students, senior citizens and unemployed people. This offer is restricted to 1 ticket per applicant on production of appropriate identification. The theatre is in Brays Lane, London WC2, and is close to both Trafalgar Square and Charing Cross tube stations. It can also be reached by buses 1, 24, 29 and 176. Thank you for calling.
That is the end of Part 2. Part 3. The Translator. You will hear a radio program in which a translator is being interviewed about her job. For questions 19 to 24, indicate the most appropriate response. A, B, C, or D.
In this day and age, more and more people learn foreign languages, but this has not reduced the demand for translators. As more and more nations trade with each other and have greater contact with each other, so more and more translators are required. But what exactly does the job involve? And what are the highs and lows of being a translator? I spoke to Fiona Gibbs, a translator for many years, and first of all, I asked her what presents translators with the greatest difficulty.
The worst problem, believe it or not, has little to do with language. It has more to do with personality. I'm not talking about nationality, by the way, because my experience is that you can find the same sorts of people anywhere. No, it's what people are like as individuals that causes the real trouble. I mean, take jokes, for example. You can be translating for somebody, and they say something that's meant to be funny, and you just know the person you translate it to isn't going to find it the least bit funny, because they have a totally different sense of humour. The whole thing falls flat, and you feel terribly silly translating it.
What made you want to be a translator?
Well, of course, a fascination for language was the starting point. I mean, from a very early age I had, I suppose, a gift for languages, and I realised that I could pick them up pretty quickly. So when I left school, there wasn't really much doubt as to what I'd do at university and then for a living. Also, I thought it would be pretty well paid, that it would enable me to travel and to gain a real understanding of other cultures, and that it would give me job satisfaction, because I would be helping people who speak different languages to get on together and work together.
And has all that proved to be the case?
Well, yes and no. The money side of it certainly hasn't turned out to be totally true. But at the same time, I suppose I can't really complain. I have travelled a lot, and that's been quite enjoyable, although it's involved a lot of very hard work too. I've learnt an enormous amount about a variety of cultures and attitudes, but I couldn't honestly say that this has led me to a real understanding of them. I mean, sometimes it's true that the more you learn, the less you know. People really aren't at all simple, and you soon find out that you can't generalise about nationalities. I would certainly say, though, that I do help people from different countries to work and socialise together, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of that.
Give me an example.
Well, let me see. Yes, well, there was an occasion when I was translating in a business meeting, and a problem was clearly beginning to emerge. I was translating for a client in some rather delicate negotiations, but the other person clearly didn't like his manner. My client was, to be honest, being rather aggressive and uncooperative, and it looked to me as if the other man was going to get up and storm out of the room any minute. So I started to translate my client's words. Well, I made them a little bit softer, less direct, shall we say. I mean, I translated it all properly, that's my job, but I phrased it slightly more politely than the original, and the atmosphere soon improved. By the end, they'd reached a compromise they were both happy with, and the meeting broke up with them the best of friends.
And what's the worst situation you've been in as a translator?
Oh, that's easy. I was translating for 2 politicians at a conference, and the one employing me really detested the other one. I mean, it was obviously a personal dislike. So he started insulting him, and I had to translate all these terrible insults. I had no choice. He was the one paying me. It was just awful. I thought there was going to be a fight, and I was worried that the other politician might hit me or something, because after all, I was the one actually saying all these terrible things to him. I was pretty glad to get out of that room at the end, I can tell you.
So all in all, is it a job that you'd recommend?
Yes. Certainly that kind of thing doesn't happen very often. But it's not as glamorous as some people seem to think. You do travel a lot, but it's hard work, and you often don't see much of the places you visit. Most of the time I thoroughly enjoy my work, but I must admit it can get a bit boring sometimes. Certainly, you need to have, as I do, a real feel for languages. It's not enough just to have studied them, and to really like working with them. I certainly can't imagine myself doing anything else.
Thanks very much, Fiona. I've enjoyed talking to you.
That is the end of Part 3. Part 4. Our Town. You will hear extracts of 5 different people talking about a town. Task 1. Letters A to H list different people. As you listen, put them in the order in which you hear them by completing the boxes numbered 25 to 29 with the appropriate letter. Task 2. Letters A to H list the different topics mentioned by the people speaking in the 5 extracts. As you listen, put them in the order in which you hear them by completing the boxes numbered 30 to 34 with the appropriate letter.
What makes my job more difficult is that they keep asking me where such and such a shop or hotel or street is. I mean, all I'm concerned with is that they pay the correct fare or show me a valid card, and anyway, I don't know where half the places they ask me about are. It's not so bad when there aren't many of them, but these days we have loads here, so all these questions hold me up quite a bit, and of course that holds up all the people behind me.
I love it here because it's so easy to get around. I mean, I'm not earning, so I can't afford to get a car, which means that I rely on the buses. It's great, because if I get fed up with being on the campus all the time with my head stuck in a book, I can just pop out and easily get anywhere, either into the town or to some of the villages just outside it. It's nice to be able to get into the countryside so easily and forget all about lectures for a while.
I came here a couple of years ago to set up this business, and I certainly haven't regretted it. The place is growing all the time, and the population's getting younger, which hasn't done me any harm, because a lot of them are keen on sports. Trade has been good in here ever since I opened up. Rackets and tracksuits are particularly popular, and I have to make sure I keep up with demand.
Obviously I'm pleased, as is my party, with the town's progress and prosperity, but we can't just sit back and be complacent. We've got to think about the longer term and take steps now to avoid problems in the future. The main one I foresee is congestion. We need to widen the roads we've got and build new ones, especially to take the pressure off the centre. Otherwise the whole place will grind to a standstill in a few years' time.
I don't get much chance to get any shopping done during the week, but sometimes I do pop out during my lunch break. The good thing about this town is that you can get more or less anything you want in a small area. The new pedestrian-only place is especially good. There are all sorts of stores there, and I go there sometimes just to get a break from the staff room and all that marking I have to do.
That is the end of Part 4.